Good evening, followers of fear. So, as you can tell from what you're watching, I decided to do another video of writing advice. Yay! The last one did pretty well for one of my videos, so I wanted to do another one. Hell, even if it had done badly, I probably would have wanted to do another one of these things. But I digress. In this video, we'll be talking about writer myths. These are things that people believe about writers or about writing, but which simply aren't true. That's right, I'm channeling my inner Adam Conover. Be very afraid. Now, this isn't to discourage anyone who wants to get into writing, nor is it to keep people from interacting with their favorite writers. It's just to dispel some myths or misconceptions that you may believe right now and may get in the way of becoming a writer, or may inconvenience the writers you so admire. And believe me, there are quite a few, so I'll be going over the more common ones. If there are more than I can handle in one video, I may do a follow-up. And once again, I'll be reading from a script that I wrote and edited before recording, because I don't want to start tripping over my words. If you're wondering why my eyes keep moving back and forth, flicking back and forth, that's why. Also, once again, before I get further into the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm saying that at the beginning of the video because you're apparently more likely to do so if I say it now rather than later. I might still bring it up later, but still. In addition, if you would like to support me in other ways, you can follow me on my various social media or read some of my work. I'll leave links below in the description, and in a pinned comment. You can use that to find me where I post more frequently, as well as find the links to my various books, including some free downloads. And with that, let's get into it, shall we? So, writer myth number 1. Being a writer is easy. Ooh, sorry about that. I don't know why people believe that writing's easy, because it's not easy. Writing isn't easy at all. I mean, my last video was about building a writing habit. I made it sound like an exercise habit, and in a way it is exercising. It's exercising a creative muscle. You have to get used to working that muscle and use it as frequently as possible. Well, sounds like exercising, doesn't it? That's intentional, because it is. And people who exercise often, as well as fitness trainers, they will tell you it's not easy to do it every day or do it well. Well, so the same concept applies here. Sometimes you're going to have rough days. And even if you do get used to working that muscle, words won't always flow every time you sit down to write. Sometimes you find it difficult to get more than a few words out. In fact, for some writers, it's a challenge to get words out every time they sit down to do it. They could maybe write every day for several hours a day, and it would still be difficult for them. I mean, just look at George R. R. Martin. And it's not just his business commitments and his sprawling plot that are keeping him from releasing The Winds of Winter on time. He said it himself. He has trouble getting the words down. Part of that might be that he's trying to get each word perfect the first time around, but yeah. It's hard for him, as it is for Thomas Harris, author of Silence of the Lambs. Stephen King has said that for Harris, whom he's spoken to apparently, writing is like torture. So he's basically torturing himself every time he writes about Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, like that. It's that tough. And I'm just covering getting the words down right now. Writing descriptions that make sense and inspire the imagination, or writing down the character's thoughts, or coming with an engaging story that doesn't rely on cliche or title tropes. None of that is easy. It's difficult, and it's something my fellow writers and I are continuously studying so we can improve at it. So yeah, writing is not easy at all. It's hard work. Very hard work. We still do it because we love it. Most of the time, though. Oh. Alright. Writing myth number 2. Writing is bound to make you rich. Excuse me while I laughed derisively. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, we don't do this because it's a get rich quick scheme. Truth is, writers like King or Rowling or Patterson, they're exceptions. They've basically won literary lotteries to get it to where they are today. In reality, most writers, they make less than $5,000 a year off their writing. I'm one of those writers, by the way. Last year, I made just short of $4,000. Most I've ever made in writing, but it's still not even 5,000. And that's not taking into account the expenses one incurs while writing, because they are expensive. I have to buy author copies to sell at events, and I also have to reserve space at those events. And if those events are out of town, I need to pay for a hotel most of the time, and don't get me started on stuff like paying for advertising or research materials. Trust me, those numbers add up after a while. And those writers that do manage to make enough to write full time often supplement their writing income through other means. I know quite a few writers who have successful careers and lots of readers paying to read their books, yet they still teach in high schools and colleges or take on editing work for a price, all because writing doesn't fully pay the bills. Now, that's not to say it's impossible to make a living off your writing. Far from it. I think I could eventually be able to do it. But you shouldn't quit your day job just because you expect to make a living off it. Instead, you better keep that day job, keep writing, and hope a confluence of events will lead you to be able to make that money so you can quit that day job. Will it happen? Hard to say, but if you don't try, you'll never know. Myth number 3. I'll write when I retire. Folks, technically you can take writing up after you've retired. I've known people to do it, but don't expect to become the next big thing right after retirement. Writing is a skill, well, as well as a creative muscle. It takes a lot of work to cultivate, like your golf swing, or cooking, or skateboarding. Nobody ever does it well the first time. It takes years of practice. I mean, look at me. I started writing when I was 10 and I'm 30 now. I've had some success, 5 books, several short stories, and a few other things besides. There are still things for me to learn and still things for me to achieve. I'm still trying to raise my skill level, and I probably will for the rest of my life. So unless you're a writing genius, don't wait until retirement. Start practicing now. Trust me, you'll thank me later. Writing myth number 4. I don't need editing. My work is perfect as is. I think I need to derisively laugh again. Ah! 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 You know why self-publishing, while having made many strides over the years, is still seen as lesser than traditional publishing in certain circles? It's because when the self-publishing boom happened, the markets were flooded with lots of poorly edited books that people put out there because they just wanted to get a book out. They wanted to say, "Hey, I have a book out. You should read it." And really not put any more effort in. They basically treated it as a get rich quick scheme, and did not put any effort after the getting the story written the first time around. And this led to self-publishing getting a bad reputation because there were so many poorly edited books and a lot of great stories not getting any recognition, all because some writers didn't want to carefully check their grammar and spelling or have someone else ensure the stories were readable. Many of the people learned the hard way that if you want to put out a good book, you need to take time and give it multiple edits before it's ready for release. That's true for any story. Could be just 2 drafts, could be 15 drafts, but you'll need the story to be edited before it's ready to be seen by other eyes. And you'll definitely want someone with the editing skills to look at the story. Trust me, as much as we try, we're going to miss something. A major spelling error, a plot hole, something left over from another draft that needs to be cut out. Trust me, they're there, and we'll miss them. Better to have someone else take a look and hopefully catch what you missed. Or you could Your book get tons of bad reviews and poor sales because you didn't think your book needed any further work, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. Let's see now. Myth number 5. My book is finished or it's been accepted by a publisher. It'll be a few months at most before it's out. I wish. Now, I know that in the self publishing world, the turnaround between a final draft and the book's release can be a few months, especially if you have a decent cover already made and a strong following who will read anything you put out. I've done that myself. After I finished the final draft of The Pure World Comes, it was maybe about 3 or 4 months before I got the final copy out, I put the book out. But it still takes several months or years to write a story worth publishing. And even if it does get accepted, it takes way more time to get it out than you think. Out of my 5 books, 2 of them, Rose and Hannah, they've been published by publishers. And guess how long they took? Rose took 15 months from acceptance to release. And Hannah took nearly 2 years. Yeah. And you might be wondering, what were you doing all that time? Oh, lots and lots of editing. Each book went through several different drafts, like up to 7 with just the publisher alone. And then we were designing the cover and doing all the marketing. And after publication, it was a lot more work just marketing the books and getting into readers' hands. Yeah, this is not a sort of business where you finish a product and then you just see quick results. There is still plenty of things that need to be done, and it can take a while for results to show up. Believe me, I know. But trust me, all that time, it's necessary if you want to put out a good product. I wouldn't have gotten all the good reviews and all the sales and all the readers without taking that time, and I'm thankful for it. That being said, I hope the next time I get a book accepted by a publisher, we can get it out in a year. Fingers crossed. All right, myth number 5. I have this idea for a story. Folks, no offense, but don't go up to writers and say, I have this idea for a story that I think you should write. We don't want to hear your story idea. We don't want to write it out after you tell it to us and then split the profits with you or give it you a writing credit or whatever. It's not something we want to do. For one thing, we all have our own ideas that we like and we want to work on. And second off, your ideas are yours. You should work on them. You should work on them. You would probably be more satisfied with the direction you take the story than whatever direction we would take. And actually, a lot of writers hate it when people come up to them and do this. We have our own ideas, like I said. And sometimes we feel like you giving us your ideas makes we feel like you don't have confidence in us or our own ideas. That's probably not the impression you want to give, but that's sometimes what the impression we get is. So please, just don't. Again, no offense. We love you, readers. There are just some types of help that are helpful, like leaving reviews of a writer's work or following an author's social media. There's the kind of help that isn't helpful at all, and this is an example. But if you still want another writer to write your stories out, good news. There are people out there who will do it. They're called ghost writers. They charge a fee. Go Google them and see how much they charge. I'm way too gleeful about delivering that bad news. All right, myth number 7. Did I accidentally call the last one number 5? Oh, God, I'm losing it. Oh, well. Myth number 7. Your first book or short story is worthy of publishing. I'm not meaning first book you publish. I mean the first story or book you've ever written. It's sad to say, but lots of authors write works they're proud of, but which never see the light of day. I have several short stories and 3 novels that I put my heart and soul into writing. Sadly, either because I got too many rejections or because I recognize a flaw in them that I cannot fix, it's unlikely that they would ever be published. and I don't regret writing them. I learned a lot doing so, and they paved the way to the successes that I have today. That includes getting one or two stories published per year, and sometimes more. But these stories just aren't going to be published because of flaws in their quality that stem from how they were written or just what the story is. And it is what it is. It just won't get to the publishing stage at any point. And you'll probably write your fair share of those works as well. And don't be sad over it. Don't get anxious about it. Cherish those stories. Like the many swings of a baseball bat, you take, like the many swings of a baseball bat, you take just learning to hit the ball. They're necessary for your growth. Yeah, you'll have a lot of misses, but it'll help you build that strength so that you'll eventually get some hits. So go out there and break some eggs or take some swings and miss. Yeah, it'll be sad, but it'll be necessary growth. All right, moving on. Writing myth number 8. Writing isn't a real job, or it's cute, or not constructive, or just something we can easily put down. No. It's a job. I'm basically running a self-employed business right here. I put out a product, I attend the equivalent of trade shows, I keep track of expenses of income, and I even pay taxes on my writing. Plus, I have social media to reach out to customers. Trust me, that's a job. That's a business. So don't go calling it not a job or not a real job. And how is writing cute? I've never understood that. People call it that like, oh, I'm a writer. Oh, that's cute. Excuse me? We're weaving worlds together with words. We're using the power of stories to create entire universes and making them bloom into the minds of our readers. The only descriptions you should use for that is awe-inspiring, because that's what it is. And as for not being constructive, again, we're weaving worlds together with our stories, with our words. That's pretty constructive if you ask me, especially given in how much of our media involves storytelling. So, oh, don't go calling it not constructive. And finally, no, we just can't stop writing to answer a question, or run to the store, or babysit your kids. And yes, there have been people who've been asked, hey, I know you're just writing, so could you babysit my kids for me? No, this is a job. It requires hard work. I spend hours in front of my computer just to make the products I put out to my customers, just to interact with those same customers, just to sure I'm staying on top of my income versus expenses. It's not something I can just put down without a good reason. And why do people treat writers like that? I mean, you don't interrupt accountants because they're just accounting, do you? Or a construction worker when when he or she is putting the next floor in a skyscraper, do you? No, you wouldn't. Then why would you interrupt a writer? So yeah, don't. Okay, feel like I nearly went on a rant there. Okay, final myth. Number 9. It's okay to invade a writer's private life. People, there are ways for you to contact authors that you admire or whose work you love. They often post such information on their websites, or they have social media you can interact through them with them through. But calling their personal lines or emailing their personal accounts or showing up at their home or work, that's a terrible idea. In fact, in some instances, it could be considered harassment or stalking. And there are authors I know who've dealt with this, and it is not fun. Imagine if someone showed up at your workplace and seemed to feel like they were entitled to you because of something you did that they really enjoyed. So, look, most of the time, oh, nearly lost myself there. That's not to say authors don't enjoy interacting with our readers. We do. Hell, there are even cases where we would be happy to pose for a photo with you, or even Even outside of events like conventions or book signings, we'll be happy to interact with you and sign your book. And I will admit, I have become friends with some of my readers over the years, especially through social media and blogging. However, there are lines you should not cross, especially not with authors who use pen names, because they want some degree of separation between their writing and their personal lives. And like I said, I've known authors who've dealt with this, and it's scary to think about. I mean, someone just shows up at your home and is like, "I love your book," and you're like, "Who the heck are you?" So people don't do that. Please. I mean, if there's an opportunity to meet your favorite author, like at an event, go to that. If they're amenable, maybe reach out to them on social media and see if they're cool with a meetup, especially if they're traveling through your area. But don't do anything that would make someone uncomfortable. If you wouldn't like it done to you, don't do it to your favorite authors. Capiche? I went kind of off script this video, but I guess I got a little passionate about talking about this. Anyway, I think that's enough myths for one video. But tell me, my followers of fear, what other myths about writing do you hate? Any I should tackle in an upcoming video? And what other subjects do you want me to cover in a video? Oh, I've already got some ideas, but I would love to hear what you think, especially if it's something horror related. I would love for my next video to be something about horror that I can talk about ad nauseum. Well, that's all for now, my followers of fear. Like I said earlier, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as check out the stories I have out there or my social media. And until next time, my followers of fear, good night and pleasant nightmares.